With 500,000 inhabitants, Antwerp is the largest city in Flanders. For centuries, its unique location on the Scheldt has resulted in an interesting cultural melting pot. With its inland port, Antwerp is the second largest port in Europe and the fifth largest in the world. In addition, Antwerp is also an important cultural, fashion and diamond city. Anyone visiting the city will notice that it's changing from a city in scaffolding into a visibly renovated city. The whole of Antwerp is being given a fresh appearance through the renovation of dilapidated buildings, the construction of parks and the development of cultural and sporting accommodation. The political starting point of this urban renovation policy has only one joint goal: to turn Antwerp into a city where it's pleasant to live, work and relax, a city which is loved. However, the road to this urban renovation policy has by no means been straightforward.
The Port of Antwerp experienced unparalleled growth, particularly during the second half of the 20th century. It developed to the north and separated itself from the city. The town and country planning policy of the 1970s focused particularly on the construction of ring roads and promoting the flow of traffic. Urban development stagnated and the unique attraction of the metropolis did not survive. People became more mobile and opted for the green belt instead of the city. The exodus from the cities started. In the early 1980s, the Flemish government defined re-evaluation areas. These areas were in need of new stimuli and were mainly situated along the 19th century ring. In these areas, inhabitants were given premiums, for example, to renovate facades. Attention was devoted to creating green spaces. Decaying premises were demolished and replaced by social housing. When Antwerp merged with the surrounding municipalities in 1983, it decided to draw up a global structural plan for town and country planning, or GSA. The GSA envisaged a continuous and flexible planning process focusing on an integrated vision of the future. The best-known concept of the GSA was the City on the River project. The City on the River was placed high up on the agenda in the early 1990s on the initiative of a group of dedicated citizens. With this first ambitious overall project, the cultural capital of Europe positioned itself back on the map in 1993. However, because of the lack of political interest, the breakthrough both of the GSA and the City on the River did not take place.
The tide turned in the mid-1990s. Funds from Europe, the federal, Flemish and local levels were released in order to implement a future-oriented policy with a vision and accelerate urban development with specific projects. A long-term vision was drawn up for the station area and the Deconic Plain. It concentrated on renovating the public space, stimulating the local economy, and creating social and cultural incentive projects. In the Skippers Quartier, prostitution was now restricted to a limited area, so that residential areas were made available for young people, the catering industry and culture. Park Spoor Noord, a former railway site, is now providing an unparalleled social and economic boost for the densely populated north of the city.
The city has bought up dilapidated premises to renovate and use for new purposes. Both social and economic projects, as well as the approach to the adjacent public space, were integrated in this. This approach resulted in some good examples of architecture. When the Flemish government imposed an obligation on every Flemish municipality to draw up a structural plan in the late 1990s, Antwerp already had a great deal of experience. The Strategic Structural Plan for Town and Country Planning in Antwerp, designed by Bernardo Secchi and Paolo Vigano, was definitively approved at the end of 2006. This was the total renovation of the city by means of strategic interventions in the existing urban fabric. In this way, the area-oriented programs Eilandje, Station Area, Groene Singel and Scheldt Keys were selected for the plans for the next few years and the budget for 2008-2012. This means that funds and people will be intensively deployed in the next few years to invest in these areas. For a coherent and efficient execution of its urban development projects, the city created a number of new instruments, such as the City Architect, the AG Urban Planning for Antwerp for area-oriented projects being carried out, an AG Vesper for the policy on land and premises, and a unit Design and Research.
The city's inhabitants are also involved from the conceptual stage of the projects by means of publications and campaigns, such as the Biomarket on the Falcon Plain, the Sort Yourself Out Day on Spoor Noord, or the monthly book market on the De Connix Plain. 3 decades of thinking about and building Antwerp has been done. The results are a stronger partnership with other governments and increasing attention for the involvement of inhabitants and visitors. At the Flemish policy level, there's also been an increase in attention for urban development. For example, the Home in the City Prize focuses on sustainable and innovative urban renovation projects as examples of good practice. Antwerp has already won this prize 3 times, in 2002 for the Station District and the De Connix Plain, 3 years later for the Schipperskwartier, and in 2008 for the Theaterplein.
Another milestone at the Flemish policy level was the decree on the support of urban renewal projects in 2002. Flanders made financial contributions to projects which met the strict quality criteria with regard to design, participation and public-private partnership. Up to now, Antwerp has received this sort of subsidy for the following 3 projects. The Museum on the River project, situated in the former port district at Eilandje, the Falconplein and the area around the Zeemanshuis, situated between the old port and the city centre, and the Groenkwartier, which will become a residential area with a large city garden on the 8-hectare piece of land belonging to a former military hospital. In addition to the project subsidy, Flanders also supports projects during the concept stage. This is known as a concept subsidy. This is used to test a promising idea for urban renewal and to explore the possibilities to develop it as a fully supported project. In this way, Antwerp recently called upon the concept subsidy for the new Zurenberg project. The challenge here is the development of a new residential area and a new park situated on the site of a former gas factory. In this way, Antwerp is gradually returning the city to its inhabitants.